Hello, welcome to the journey of science and sleep, a place where fascinating stories about the world around us are told in a slow, gentle rhythm, just enough for you to listen while drifting into a deep sleep. Whether you are lying in a quiet room, leaning back on the sofa, or suddenly opening this video in a strange place, I am truly happy to be accompanying you at this moment. If this is your first visit, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you won't miss any journey in the future. And to those who have been accompanying me before, I sincerely thank you. It is you who make this space warmer and more meaningful. Stay with me until the end of the video because today we will open a door leading to the secrets of the ocean, where the waves whisper about untold things and where the sea holds more mysteries than the stars in the sky. When we talk about the ocean, it's easy to imagine waves crashing onto the shore or the blue stretching endlessly to the horizon. But the ocean is not merely a peaceful picture to admire. It is a living entity, a grand machine whose every breath is intertwined with our existence. If this planet has a heart, its pulse surely resounds from the deep layers of the waves. And if the Earth has memory, that memory is preserved in every droplet of water that has wandered for billions of years, witnessing a history far longer than all civilizations combined. The sea not only covers two-thirds of the planet, it also conceals the truth that we, despite being proud conquerors of the sky, have only just begun to familiarize ourselves with the threshold of the ocean. Humans have walked on the moon, sent probes beyond the edge of the solar system, yet we have only touched a tiny portion of the depths beneath our feet. About 80% of the ocean floor has yet to be mapped in detail. There may exist habitats never before seen, life forms never named, and even secrets about the origin of life that science is still tentatively exploring. What makes the ocean extraordinary lies not only in its immense size, but also in its layered complexity. Imagine yourself diving into the sea. At the surface, sunlight floods in, nourishing clouds of plankton. These microscopic organisms seem so tiny as to be nearly invisible, yet they provide the majority of the oxygen we breathe each day. If the Amazon rainforest is called the green lung of the planet, then the ocean can be considered an invisible lung, silent but irreplaceable. Going deeper, the world changes. Vibrant coral reefs emerge like miniature cities, an underwater New York, where millions of creatures crowd together, hunt, build homes, and communicate in ways we have only begun to decode. Each tiny coral block may take hundreds of years to form, yet it serves as the foundation for an entire community. This is the paradox of the ocean, fragile enough to be vulnerable to change, yet strong enough to create one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. As we continue downward, light gradually disappears. We enter the twilight zone, where only faint rays of light penetrate the dense water. Here, life evolves according to entirely different rules. Creatures with enormous eyes capture every remaining photon, transparent bodies avoid detection, and displays of bioluminescent blue light, light emitted from living bodies, illuminate the darkness. Each flash serves as communication, lure, or warning. This is a world where light becomes language. When we reach the deepest trenches, the pressure is enough to crush steel, yet life persists. Strange fish with razor-sharp teeth, creatures that do not need sunlight to survive, but rely on energy from hydrothermal vents at the seabed. In these fissures, superheated mineral-rich water gushes out, creating an environment once thought by science to be uninhabitable. Yet, it is precisely here that one of the greatest mysteries of life may lie. This could be the cradle where the first organic molecules combined to form life, billions of years ago. If the ocean is a play, it is not merely the backdrop for life, but the silent director. Ocean currents transport heat across the planet, regulate climate, determine the formation of monsoons, storms, and even our harvests. Every droplet moving within these currents contributes to shaping human civilization, even if people rarely realize it. A small change in a current can trigger major changes in weather, crops, and the future of humanity. But the ocean does not only affect the present. It is also a gigantic diary of Earth's history. In the sediments on the seafloor, layers of mud and rock preserve traces of climate from millions of years ago. Bubbles trapped in sea ice tell stories of the atmosphere in past eras. And If we could read all the pages of this diary, we might find answers to today's most urgent questions. Where will climate change lead us? And do we still have time to change? That is why, when we look out at the sea, what we see is not merely a vast expanse of water. It is a mirror reflecting ourselves, a way the planet sustains life, a treasure trove of science yet to be uncovered, and a reminder that we are but a tiny part of this enormous system. In this journey, we will follow each story, from the first droplets that form the ocean, to the microscopic creatures that generate oxygen, and then to the quiet but persistent tides that stretch continents. Every chapter in the story of the sea carries within it a blend of science, history, and even wonder. And the more we listen, the more we explore, the more we realize that the ocean does not only conceal its own secrets, but also hides secrets about our very existence. If we want to uncover the greatest secret of the ocean, we need to go back to the dawn of the Earth, when this planet was still a raging ball of fire, filled with lava and toxic gases. At that time, the sea did not exist. The Earth was merely a blazing mass, nothing but chaos. Yet from that very chaos, over millions of years of gradual cooling, massive clouds of water vapor began to condense. The first rain fell, not for a few hours or days, but in downpours lasting thousands of years, pouring onto the burning surface, gradually forming the first water basins. And thus, the ocean began to be born. It is difficult to imagine that scene, a world of erupting volcanoes, violent thunderstorms, swirling black clouds, and the first boiling pools under extreme heat. But it was precisely in this seemingly uninhabitable place that the seeds of life were sown. Many scientists believe that the combination of water, energy from volcanoes, lightning, and minerals created a primordial soup where tiny inorganic molecules combined into organic molecules, and from there, life began. These droplets of water not only cooled the Earth's surface, but also became the cradle nurturing the first sparks of life. Perhaps in some shallow pool, a chain of RNA molecules formed, enough to replicate itself. Perhaps at the bottom of a deep-sea fissure, minerals and energy from hydrothermal vents paved the way for the first primitive cells. Whatever the scenario, the truth is, the ocean is where life began, and from that moment, the sea became the silent mother of every living being that has ever existed on Earth. Imagine, billions of years ago in the primordial ocean, the first creatures had no eyes, no bones, only tiny floating cells. Yet from them, life began its grand evolutionary journey. Step by step, single cells learned to cooperate, forming multicellular organisms. Tiny marine algae learned to photosynthesize, releasing oxygen and transforming a suffocating atmosphere into one that could be breathed. And from the depths of the sea, these first workers prepared the way for life to appear on land. In a sense, the ocean is the oldest storyteller. Every wave, every sediment layer on the seafloor is a page in the giant book of Earth's history. Submerged mountain ranges hidden beneath the water are traces of geological tectonic collisions. Fossils of ancient marine organisms bear witness to bygone eras. And if we listen, the ocean seems to whisper, "I have been here since the dawn, and I am still here, accompanying all living beings." But the sea is not only the keeper of memories, it is also the stage of rebirth. Throughout history, the Earth has experienced many mass extinction disasters. Volcanoes erupted, massive asteroids struck, ice ages covered the globe, all repeatedly wiping out terrestrial life. Yet even in those dark moments, the ocean silently sheltered, preserving the smallest species, so that from them, life could begin a new chapter. Thanks to the sea, this planet has never fully extinguished its flame. There is a strange paradox. We often look at the ocean for a sense of peace, yet in reality, the sea is the source of all creative chaos. Within those blue waves, chaotic molecules collided and combined, and from them, DNA, the book of life, was written. In the darkness of the deep, chemical reactions once thought random began the entire process of evolution. It is in that primordial chaos that a miraculous order was born. If life on Earth is a long musical composition, the first note resounded from the ocean, and to this day, that resonance still echoes. The plasma in our bodies contains a salt concentration nearly identical to seawater, a mark of ancestry, evidence that we still carry the memory of our birthplace. Every time we touch a wave, perhaps we are also touching the distant origin of ourselves. Therefore, when we speak of the secret life of the ocean, we are not merely referring to colorful coral reefs or bizarre deep sea creatures. We are talking about a continuous life force spanning more than 4 billion years, from the first raindrops to every breath we take today. The ocean is not just a backdrop. The sea is a mother, a teacher, and the keeper of the secret of life. And perhaps the most profound lesson the ocean teaches us is this: from chaos can arise order, from darkness can life emerge, and from the smallest beginnings can the greatest achievements unfold. The ocean is not merely a vast body of water covering more than 70% of the Earth's surface. It is also a complex operating machine where seemingly separate natural phenomena are connected into a miraculous cycle. After discussing salinity, the breath and rhythm of the waves, we cannot overlook another vital factor: light and temperature, two variables that determine whether the ocean becomes the cradle of life or a dead expanse of water. Sunlight can penetrate only about the first 200 meters of the water column, called the euphotic zone. Within this fragile space, countless plankton perform photosynthesis, producing oxygen and forming the foundation for the global food chain. Interestingly, although the Amazon rainforest is considered the green lung of the planet, it is the ocean that produces more than half of the oxygen we breathe every day. Below the euphotic zone, as light diminishes, life changes in unpredictable ways. Fish and mollusks develop enormous eyes to capture every weak ray of light or even produce their own light through bioluminescence. Imagine a ball in the dark where millions of tiny creatures blink like mobile stars, an underwater galaxy shimmering and mysterious. And if light shapes the vertical distribution of life, temperature determines the horizontal operation. The warm equatorial regions cause vigorous water evaporation, creating tropical storms, while the cold polar regions act like a gigantic fan, controlling global heat circulation. Saltier, colder water in the North Atlantic sinks to the bottom, forming a deep current that weaves through multiple oceans, taking hundreds of years to resurface far away. This cycle not only redistributes heat, but also carries nutrients that nourish countless organisms. A disruption in this cycle, such as unusually rapid ice melting, can alter global climate, affecting monsoon seasons in Asia and storms in the Atlantic. Going further into the perpetual darkness, where light never reaches, the ocean reveals an astonishing secret: hydrothermal vents. There, in the cracks of the seabed, seawater seeps down, heated by the magma below, and then gushes back up, rich in metallic minerals and sulfides. Although temperatures may exceed 300 degrees Celsius, life thrives around these black smokers. Instead of relying on sunlight, bacteria and extremophiles here harness chemical energy from sulfur to produce food, initiating an ecosystem independent of the sun. This demonstrates that life can exist in conditions once thought impossible, hinting at the possibility of finding organisms on icy worlds like Europa or Enceladus in the solar system. But the ocean does not only nurture life, it also records Earth's memory. In each sediment layer on the deep sea floor, we can read stories spanning millions of years about climate, extinctions, and continental drift and collisions. Every grain of sand, every buried shell fragment is a small piece of the planet's colossal diary. Today, when science uses deep diving robots and drills core samples from the seabed, we are effectively turning the pages of the oldest book where past and present converge. Above, the sea surface reflects the sky and creates an illusion of tranquility. Yet, hidden beneath is a complex network of interactions in which humans also play a role. We depend on the ocean for food, transportation, energy, and even as a massive carbon filter absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. However, in return, we are testing the ocean's resilience: plastic waste, oil spills, ocean acidification, and overfishing. Ironically, currents that once brought life now carry human debris into the middle of the ocean, forming death spirals for marine life. Nevertheless, the ocean persists, following its own rhythm, like a heart that never stops beating. Every wave, every tide, every current is a reminder that we live thanks to a fragile yet powerful system. Standing on the shore, watching waves crash and hearing the wind whistle over the water, we do not merely witness the movement of water, we feel the endless continuity between life and the planet. The ocean is both a mirror reflecting time and a silent message. The existence of humanity is closely linked to its pulse, and We must learn to respect that rhythm if we wish to coexist for the long term. Beneath the dense labyrinthine mangrove roots, countless tiny creatures find shelter. Juvenile fish, shrimp, crabs, clams, and hundreds of other crustacean species take advantage of the safe spaces between the roots to grow before venturing out into the open sea. This dense root system is not only a barrier against waves, but also a natural armor protecting the coastline from erosion and storms. When the tide rises, seawater flows in, bringing nutrients and sediment. When the tide recedes, what remains is trapped among the roots, nourishing life in a closed loop cycle. It is no wonder that scientists call mangrove forests the green lungs of the coast, producing oxygen while storing carbon many times more than terrestrial forests. Saltwater lagoons and marshes are also vital cradles of life, though they may appear calm and simple on the surface. These shallow waters absorb sunlight and become convergence points for nutrient rich currents. They function as massive biological filtration systems, removing impurities and cleaning the water before it merges back into the ocean. In the soft mud beneath, billions of microorganisms diligently decompose organic matter, transforming it into new energy sources for the food chain. Lagoons not only nourish fish and waterfowl, but also serve as wintering grounds for many migratory birds, turning each seasonal return into a vibrant symphony between sky and water. However, the coastal zone is not merely a peaceful refuge. It is also a land of intense fluctuations, where life must be resilient to survive. Every day, the tides rise and fall incessantly, bringing harsh changes in temperature, salinity, and oxygen levels. The species living here have evolved to adapt. Fish dig small holes to retain water when the tide recedes, snails cling tightly to rocks to avoid being swept away, and seagrass bends gracefully with each wave to prevent uprooting. It is this persistence and resilience that has turned the coastline into a vast school of evolution, where every species is living proof of overcoming challenges. If mangrove forests are the lungs, then coral reefs are the underwater cities of the ocean. At depths of only a few dozen meters, where sunlight still penetrates, coral grows in massive clusters, radiating colors as dazzling as a grand painting. Each reef is not only a collection of countless tiny polyps, but also a complex community housing thousands of species. Clownfish hide among sea anemone tentacles, wrasse graze on algae along coral branches, and brightly colored parrotfish swim past like living pieces of a rainbow. An entire thriving ecosystem depends on the sustainability of coral, delicate creatures capable of constructing massive structures spanning hundreds of kilometers. Yet, coral is also among the most fragile organisms. A rise of just a few degrees in water temperature can cause bleaching, depriving the coral of the symbiotic algae that provide its nourishment. Deadening coral reefs do not only mean a loss of scenic beauty, but also strike at the entire marine food web. Without coral, hundreds of fish species would vanish, triggering a chain collapse across many coastal ecosystems. This is why scientists view coral conservation as an urgent mission, not only to preserve the ocean's beauty, but also to safeguard the foundation that supports millions of humans dependent on fishing. A little farther out, seagrass meadows stretch like green fields beneath the water. Modest and often overlooked, seagrass is among the planet's most effective carbon storage systems. Slender blades provide shelter for juvenile fish, feeding grounds for sea turtles, and resting spots for pipefish and seahorses. When wind and waves blow strongly, seagrass roots hold sediment in place, preventing coastal erosion. They work silently, day after day, maintaining stability along the shore. In their quiet way, they are the unsung heroes of the ocean. All these ecosystems, mangroves, lagoons, coral reefs, seagrass meadows, are interconnected like an intricate network. They regulate climate, provide food, protect coastlines, and most importantly, create space for life to flourish in countless forms. Losing any link can destabilize the entire system. And humans, through uncontrolled actions such as overexploitation, plastic pollution, and habitat destruction, are placing enormous pressure on these fragile ecosystems. Yet the ocean is also a place of hope. Many countries have established marine reserves, banning exploitation and allowing nature to heal itself. In these areas, coral begins to recover within a few years, fish return, and life flourishes vigorously. Projects replanting mangroves, Restoring seagrass and protecting plankton are also opening a new path toward a more balanced relationship between humans and the sea. The crucial point is recognizing that protecting the ocean is not only for the sake of coral or dolphins, but ultimately for ourselves, the living beings who rely on the deep blue pulse of this planet. Every time we step on wet sand, hear the waves crash, and smell the salty sea breeze, we are touching an ancient history and a fragile future. The coastline is not merely a place of recreation. It is a reminder that we are always connected to the ocean, whether we realize it or not. Every drop of water in our bodies, every breath we take, carries a trace of the sea. And when we look toward the horizon, where sea and sky merge, we can understand that the ocean is both a secret story and an eternal promise of life on Earth. There is an interesting truth that we often forget. The ocean is not just a vast blue expanse on the map, but a living world, breathing in rhythm with the Earth itself. The regular rise and fall of the tides are like the heartbeat of the planet, while the sound of waves crashing onto the shore resembles endless, deep breaths. If you listen closely, you will sense that the sea always has a story to tell, an ancient song that we are only beginning to understand. Beneath the deep blue surface lies an enormous city where every creature, from the tiniest microorganism to the giants like whales, contributes to this symphony. We may often think of the ocean as merely fish swimming back and forth, but in reality it is far more complex and magical. A single drop of seawater, just one tiny drop, contains millions of microscopic organisms, creatures almost invisible, yet serving as the lungs of the world, producing the majority of the oxygen we breathe today. Ironically, we inhale daily without considering that every breath carries the imprint of the ocean. The ocean is also like a living diary, recording Earth's history in each sediment layer, each fossil lying quietly on the seabed. Within it, we can read the pages of past epochs, ice ages, mass extinctions, and flourishing periods of coral reefs. Each sediment layer is like a page the sea preserves, quietly reminding us that all life is deeply interconnected. Some say that if the stars in the sky are the memory of the universe, then the ocean is the memory of the Earth. And in that memory, humanity has only appeared as a tiny footnote. We are still young compared to the age of the sea, yet we have the power to affect it profoundly, even worryingly. Every drifting plastic bottle, every polluted river flowing into the sea, every global heat wave warming the oceans are exclamation points in that diary, signals left by the ocean to warn us. Strangely, despite our sometimes unfair treatment, the ocean patiently embraces humanity. It nourishes, protects, and provides countless resources, from everyday meals flavored with fish, salt, and seaweed, to rare medicinal compounds extracted from marine organisms to heal humans. All are gifts the sea silently bestows. Perhaps this is why many ancient civilizations revered the ocean as a deity. The Greeks called it Poseidon, the Polynesians worshipped Tangaroa, and in many East Asian regions, the sea is likened to a mother, gentle yet fierce, nurturing yet challenging. But to truly listen to the ocean, we must learn to slow down. Amid the rush of life, few pause to notice the salty scent in the air, the steady rhythm of waves like a heartbeat, or the shimmering light dancing across the water. Only when we move slowly can we realize that the ocean is not distant, it is a mirror reflecting ourselves. The vastness of the sea reminds us of our smallness, yet it also awakens a profound compassion that we must protect and preserve it so that future generations can still hear the waves, see the schools of fish, and dive beneath vibrant coral reefs. Imagine this: one day you stand before the coast, gazing at the horizon where water and sky merge. The feeling is like facing infinity, where all worries seem to dissolve. The ocean teaches us humility, appreciation for life, and above all, that we are never truly alone. Every grain of sand beneath our feet, every wave that touches the shore has been connected to millions of other creatures, millions of other stories, and somehow all meet in the ocean. Perhaps the greatest secret the ocean has kept to this day is not in the legendary monsters of the deep, nor in treasures lying beneath the cold waters. That secret is simpler, yet deeper. The ocean teaches us about the inseparable connection between life and sharing. Just as tiny drops of water come together to form the ocean, we, individual human beings, also need to connect, to resonate in order to build a more sustainable world. And when night falls, the waves continue to whisper. You may be preparing to drift into sleep, eyes closing, breathing slowing, but remember that out there, the ocean is still awake, still singing its eternal song. Let that song lull you to sleep, and when you awaken, you will carry in your heart a reminder: we are part of the ocean, and the ocean is part of us. Beneath the twilight boundary, where the last rays of the sun vanish completely, begins a strange world, the deep sea. From depths of 1,000 meters downward, the ocean plunges into absolute darkness, a black night with no dawn. This is a realm that accounts for more than half of our blue planet's volume, yet most of it remains beyond human understanding. To the naked eye, the deep sea may seem like a dead land. No light, crushing pressure, bone-chilling cold, and vast distances from the surface. Yet strangely, in this seemingly harsh place, life thrives in countless forms, demonstrating the resilience and limitless adaptability of nature. At depths greater than 2,000 meters, the pressure can be hundreds of times greater than at the surface, enough to crush steel if it is not reinforced. Yet deep-sea creatures not only endure but thrive in perfect adaptation. Their bodies are flexible, muscles loose, skeletal structures minimized to just enough support. Many species are nearly transparent, blending seamlessly with the eternal darkness. Most also wield a remarkable weapon, their own light. In absolute darkness, bioluminescence becomes the language, weapon, and the key to survival. One of the icons of the deep sea is the anglerfish. With a glowing lure dangling before its mouth, it attracts tiny prey with flickering light, only to snap them up with a massive jaw capable of swallowing prey larger than its own body. Remarkably, in some anglerfish species, the tiny male lives parasitically on the female's body, merging into her bloodstream and becoming a lifelong source of sperm. A bizarre reproductive strategy, yet a solution for a world where encounters with mates are rare. Equally mysterious are the giant tube worms living near hydrothermal vents. Here, instead of sunlight, life relies on energy from the Earth's interior. Cracks spew superheated, mineral-rich water, sustaining an entire community of organisms through chemosynthesis, converting inorganic compounds into living energy. The worms, which can grow over 2 meters long, have no mouths or stomachs, surviving through symbiotic bacteria within their bodies. Around them, blind crabs, transparent shrimp, and bizarre fish create an ecological oasis in the heart of a dark desert. Going even deeper to the ocean trenches, more than 11,000 meters down, such as the Mariana Trench, we enter the Hadal world, where conditions are so extreme that life was once thought impossible. Yet, scientists have found organisms thriving, Hadal snails with flexible bodies, or microorganisms capable of withstanding extreme pressure while remaining active. These discoveries force us to reconsider the definition of life and its potential existence on distant planets. The deep sea is not only a museum of bizarre life forms, but also a crucial part of the global climate balance system. Here, carbon and organic matter from the surface are stored for thousands of years, turning the deep ocean into a vast repository that regulates the Earth. Without this mechanism, our climate could be far more unstable. However, the deep sea is now facing unprecedented threats. Mineral extraction, exploratory drilling projects, and sunken plastic waste leave marks on an inherently fragile ecosystem. We are only beginning to explore it, yet risk destroying it before fully understanding it. What makes the deep sea fascinating is not only its strange creatures or surreal landscapes, but also the humility it evokes. We have reached the moon, sent probes to Mars, yet most of the ocean beneath our feet remains a mystery. Each time a submarine or exploration robot descends, new species are recorded, geological structures previously unseen are discovered, and new questions arise. The deep sea seems never to run out of surprises. When thinking of the deep sea, one cannot help but sense the coexistence of fragility and the power of life. In the darkness and crushing pressure, in the deadly cold, life not only persists but shines. Literally, it is a reminder of extraordinary adaptability, and that nature always finds a way to endure, no matter the circumstances. Perhaps that is why, when we close our eyes and imagine ourselves drifting through that endless darkness, we feel both the smallness and the greatness of humanity. Small before the vastness and mystery of the ocean, great in our desire to explore, in the imagination to illuminate where darkness reigns. And through that, whenever we think of the deep sea, It is not only fear that arises, but also admiration, gratitude, and hope that humanity will be wise enough to protect that deep blue world for generations to come. In a world seemingly as boundless as the ocean, where currents constantly shift and food sources are not always abundant, life has found countless creative ways to survive. From giant creatures gliding slowly through the waters to tiny, nearly invisible organisms, each species stands as a testament to the extraordinary adaptability that evolution has bestowed. One of the keys to survival in the ocean is energy efficiency. Many large marine animals, such as blue whales or sperm whales, rely on astonishingly slow metabolic rates relative to their size. This allows them to traverse vast oceanic expanses where food is scarce while sustaining themselves over long periods. Meanwhile, small fish or plankton adopt an entirely opposite strategy: rapid reproduction in massive numbers, ensuring that at least a fraction survive the harsh challenges of the sea. Migration is another survival secret. Each year, millions of marine creatures undertake enormous journeys, sometimes spanning thousands of kilometers. Bluefin tuna, with bodies brimming with energy, can cross entire oceans to find breeding grounds. Sea turtles, after decades adrift, still remember the tiny sandy beaches where they hatched and return faithfully to lay their eggs. Even microscopic organisms like plankton participate in one of the planet's largest migrations, moving vertically each day, traveling hundreds of meters from the dark depths to the surface at night to feed, then sinking during the day to avoid predators. In a world of limited light, bioluminescence is a delicate survival strategy. Many deep sea fish possess light producing organs, like tiny lanterns dangling before their mouths to lure unsuspecting prey closer. Gelatinous creatures, from jellyfish to siphonophores, use light to distract enemies, creating streaks of illumination in the darkness that disorient predators. For some species, light also serves as a tool for communication and mate finding, transforming the silent dark into a stage for brilliant displays of cryptic messages. Body morphology tells a story full of surprises. In areas where food is scarce, many fish have evolved enormous mouths and expandable stomachs to engulf prey nearly their own size. Other species, like anglerfish, turn their bodies into traps with luminous lures mounted on their foreheads. In this environment, nature's creativity reaches extremes. Some female anglerfish permanently fuse with tiny males, forming a single body, an extreme solution to the problem of finding mates in the ocean's darkness. However, not all strategies revolve around predation. Many marine organisms choose symbiosis, a clever cooperation for mutual survival. Giant tube worms near hydrothermal vents are a prime example. They have no mouths or digestive systems, but harbor millions of bacteria capable of converting chemicals into nutrition. In return, the bacteria gain a safe habitat. Similarly, many corals depend on relationships with symbiotic algae, receiving energy from photosynthesis while providing shelter and protection to the algae. Endurance in harsh conditions is also a remarkable testament to the ocean. Pressure at the Mariana Trench exceeds 1,000 times that at the surface, an environment humans cannot withstand even for a few seconds. Yet endemic snails, crustaceans, and bacteria thrive thanks to soft bones, specialized proteins, and stable cell membranes. The way life finds a path, even in seemingly impossible conditions, is a powerful reminder that our current understanding of life's limits is temporary and constrained by present knowledge. Additionally, the ocean hosts epic confrontations between giants. The silent struggle between sperm whales and giant squids leaves scars on the whales' bodies, evidence of battles in darkness that few ever witness. In another context, large great white sharks hunt seals near the surface, where the last light still glimmers, showing that strength and speed remain irreplaceable strategies in certain environments. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of survival strategies in the ocean is how they weave an invisible web of connection. From tiny bacteria to colossal whales, from plankton to sea turtles, all are linked in a closed-loop cycle where one species' life supports another's existence. Sediment particles sinking to the ocean floor may become food for small crustaceans, then a meal for deep-sea fish, eventually providing nutrients for giants. In this way, the ocean not only sustains its own life, but also regulates climate and planetary stability. Looking at this richness and creativity, one cannot help but wonder, how many oceanic secrets remain untouched by humans? If each expedition uncovers new species, then perhaps the ocean's diversity far exceeds our imagination. And it is precisely this mystery, along with extraordinary survival strategies, that makes the ocean one of nature's most wondrous treasures. As we move away from the lively blades of fish, the journey leads us to the silent artists of the ocean, tiny, almost invisible creatures, yet they are the conductors of the grand symphony beneath the water. The ocean world does not belong solely to majestic giants or swift predators. It is shaped every day by countless microscopic organisms, from shimmering jellyfish and tiny corals to plankton drifting among the waves. There is an intriguing paradox. The smallest bodies play the largest roles. Phytoplankton, simple single cells floating in the water, produce more than half of the oxygen we breathe every day. No terrestrial forest can compare to the ocean in its ability to nourish the atmosphere. Each tiny speck is like a miniature lung, linking life on land to the ocean's rhythm of breath. When sunlight penetrates the waves, phytoplankton explode into massive blooms, laying the foundation for the entire marine food web. Small fish eat phytoplankton, bigger fish eat the smaller fish, and ultimately, even blue whales depend on this delicate prosperity. But it is not only phytoplankton. Countless zooplankton, transparent, fragile bodies drifting with the currents, also play a vital role. They may be the larvae of future giants, a crab, a starfish, or even a shark. Each living speck is proof that life in the sea always begins small, and it is the small that opens the door to greatness. When billions of zooplankton gather in a water column, they create a rain of life that nourishes all species. Further below, under vibrantly colored seas, corals emerge like living castles. They are neither stone nor plants, but tiny organisms with intricate structures, linked together into massive reefs stretching hundreds of kilometers. A healthy coral reef is an underwater city with thousands of resident species. Camouflaged fish in crevices, squid flickering with light, sea turtles gliding past. Viewed from afar, the entire ecosystem resembles a living work of art, a masterpiece shaped by time and patience. What is astonishing is that corals are not only beautiful, but also play a crucial role. They protect coastlines from fierce waves, store carbon, and provide food and livelihoods for millions of people. Yet corals are also fragile like glass. Even slight changes in water temperature or acidity can bleach an entire reef, turning a living castle into a silent graveyard. Facing such images, one cannot help but feel both a beneficiary and a steward of this world. Another group of organisms contributing to the ocean's silent music is jellyfish. Some regard them as drifting phantoms, but careful observation reveals that jellyfish are like dancers in a lighted ball. Their transparent, soft bodies pulse with the rhythm of the water as if performing ballet in three-dimensional space. Some species even carry an ethereal blue light, emitted through bioluminescence. When night falls, they transform the entire ocean into a starry sky beneath the waves. Jellyfish have no heart, no brain, yet have existed for hundreds of millions of years, longer than dinosaurs. They demonstrate that life does not exist solely through complexity. Sometimes simplicity is the greatest strength. In their life cycles, jellyfish also help balance small fish populations and serve as food for sea turtles and humans in many regions. Each rhythmic pulse of their transparent umbrella acts as the underlying drumbeat for the entire ocean stage. And then when we descend deeper where light no longer reaches, we encounter another form of art, light from the creatures themselves. Bioluminescence is the ocean's magical secret. Anglerfish illuminate a lantern before their mouths to lure prey. Schools of small fish create shimmering trails like the Milky Way. Squid release beams of light to conceal their escape. In this seemingly eternal darkness, the ocean has invented its own way to tell its story, with light from within life itself. All of these tiny creatures, from minuscule phytoplankton to magnificent coral, from ethereal jellyfish to glowing schools of fish, form the foundation of the ocean. They are proof that the sea's greatness is not only in its giants, but also in its fragility. Like quiet musical notes that, when combined, form a symphony, these creatures transform the ocean into a living, endless composition. Perhaps, as we float on the water, listening to the waves and gazing at the vast sky, we seldom think of the tiny cells breathing beneath the surface. Yet, it is they who are the architects, the silent foundation keeping the ocean resonant. And to ensure that this symphony continues to echo, the responsibility lies with us, the audience who listens, the companions of the sea. Beneath the eternal night of the deep ocean where sunlight has never touched, a magnificent and strange world unfolds. There, water pressure is strong enough to crush steel, temperatures are bitterly cold as if life could not exist, yet it is precisely there that nature's creativity manifests in the most astonishing ways. Deep sea creatures do not merely survive, they thrive, turning the seemingly impossible into reality. This is one of the clearest demonstrations of life's limitless capacity for adaptation. And when we look into that world, we see not only organisms, but also hints of how the universe might harbor life in distant places beyond Earth. One of the most miraculous phenomena of the deep sea is bioluminescence. When you imagine the thick darkness thousands of meters below the surface, think of millions of tiny organisms lighting up together, creating a starry sky within the ocean itself. Lanternfish, with their small light bulbs dangling before their mouths, lure unsuspecting prey closer. Vampire squid, a name that sounds ripped from a horror novel, put on a dazzling light display to confuse predators. Bioluminescent algae, tiny drifting organisms in the currents, can transform an entire sea into a sparkling blue expanse like rivers of stars. This light is not merely for beauty, it is the language of life, a tool for hunting, defense, communication, and even courtship. The deep sea world is also home to life forms whose bizarre shapes seem almost imagined. Consider the black dragonfish with glass-like teeth sharp enough to crush prey, or the anglerfish whose females are dozens of times larger than the males and carry a lure on their heads, a perfect design for hunting in the dark. The tiny males, in a desperate survival journey, have evolved to become parasites of the female, attaching firmly to her body, living off her blood, and retaining only the function of reproducing. A strange strategy, yet perfect for the harsh environment where finding a mate is rare. In geological fissures on the seafloor, hydrothermal vents become wondrous oases. Giant black plumes spew scalding minerals rich in sulfur, creating environments that humans once thought could not support life. Yet there, entire communities thrive. Giant tube worms, reaching several meters in length without mouths or intestines, survive thanks to symbiotic bacteria within their bodies that can convert chemical energy into nutrients, a form of photosynthesis in the dark. This is not only a biological marvel, but also a key to understanding how life could emerge on other planets where sunlight never reaches. From a broader perspective, the deep sea is also a geological and biological treasure. Metal-rich manganese nodules, taking millions of years to form, lie scattered like treasures awaiting discovery. But with that opportunity comes a big question. Should humans intervene? Even a small impact could disrupt a delicate ecosystem that has remained stable for millions of years. There, life evolves at a slow rhythm, finely balanced, and a single artificial wave could sweep it all away. And then when we look closer, we realize that the tiny, fragile, seemingly invisible organisms are actually the pillars of the entire planet. From oxygen producing plankton to bacteria living in darkness, redefining the concept of life, all connect into a larger picture. The ocean is not just home to whales and sharks, it is the heart of the earth. A heart that beats steadily, exhales oxygen for every breath we take, absorbs carbon to regulate the climate, and nurtures the grand web of life that spans the planet. Yet that heart is being tested. Ocean temperatures rise, currents shift, and acidifying waters erode the calcium shells of tiny plankton. Massive plankton blooms may be delayed, disrupting the migration chains of seabirds, fish, and marine mammals. And if that happens, the submerged mountains, deep valleys, and hydrothermal oases, all those magnificent landscapes, will gradually fall silent, like a symphony interrupted mid-note. However, this story is not solely grim. In the cold darkness of the deep sea, life continues to shine. Organisms have survived tremendous geological upheavals, ice ages, and mass extinctions. Their adaptability is a reminder that life is more resilient than we imagine. But that resilience is not infinite. Humanity now has a choice: to become the disruptor of that rhythm or to become a companion, learning from and protecting it. When you take a deep breath, remember that much of the oxygen in your lungs comes from the ocean. When you look up at a starry sky, remember that beneath the waves, there is another sky lit by tiny bioluminescent organisms. And when you think of the future of Earth, Remember that the ocean, with all its plankton, submerged mountains, deep trenches, and strange deep sea creatures, is a mirror reflecting the fate of humankind. When we look at hydrothermal vents and the communities of organisms that rely on chemical energy, we encounter not only a story of miraculous adaptation, but also a reflection of humanity's own evolutionary journey. The deep sea, where life can arise from darkness, seems to convey a quiet message. Life does not exist solely through light, but through the ability to find energy and persist even in the harshest conditions. And if life can emerge there, perhaps it is also quietly developing on distant worlds we have yet to set foot on. These discoveries make space science and oceanography suddenly feel like two extending arms of the same endeavor. Scientists studying the deep ocean are not only trying to understand Earth, but also searching for clues about the possibility of life in the universe. Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, or Enceladus, Saturn's small white jewel, both harbor subsurface oceans beneath thick ice shells. These oceans are dark and enclosed, but if there is interaction with the rocky mantle below, then extraterrestrial hydrothermal vents could be quietly active. Our deep oceans become a natural laboratory where every organism, every chemical reaction offers a hint about the potential for life beyond Earth. Yet the deep sea does not only whisper about the distant past or the far off future, it also serves as a mirror for the present, where we as a species are testing the boundaries of greed and wisdom. Rich mineral veins on the ocean floor, copper, zinc, manganese, and even rare metals, are increasingly mentioned as enormous resources for modern technology. The question arises, do we have the right to exploit them? And if so, what price must be paid for disturbing ecosystems that have remained fragile for millions of years? The ecosystems around hydrothermal vents show that life can flourish in darkness, yet is extraordinarily fragile to the slightest change. A halted current, a collapsed structure, and entire communities of organisms can vanish in an instant. Similarly, the human world, seemingly stable with technology, cities, and energy, depends entirely on the delicate balance of our blue planet. Even a small change in climate or ocean cycles is enough to shake the foundations of our survival. Thus, when we observe giant tube worms without mouths that exist thanks to perfect symbiosis with bacteria, we are reminded of an ancient lesson that the future still needs. Life is not an endless competition, but cooperation, interweaving, and balance. In eternal darkness, these organisms find ways to share resources so that all may survive, and we, bathed in sunlight, often forget this lesson. The deep ocean seems to want to tell us a dual story. On one hand, it affirms the fierce vitality of nature, that life will always find a way. But on the other, it warns of fragility, that each ecosystem, no matter how resilient, can disappear if its nurturing environment is disrupted. In this picture, humanity does not stand outside. We are both witness and agent. And our choices today will shape not only the future of the seas, but also the future of humanity itself. The deeper we venture into the ocean, the clearer it becomes that exploration is never innocent. Every time a submarine descends, every time a drill touches the seafloor, we must ask ourselves, are we seeking knowledge or are we pushing a fragile world to the brink? Perhaps the answer will never be singular, but one thing is certain, knowledge must come with responsibility, and scientific curiosity must be accompanied by respect for life. The deep sea, with all its mysteries and wonders, is not only a scientific frontier, but also an ethical test for humanity. It asks us, can we simultaneously crave understanding and preserve the fragile life here? Can we learn from the past, imagine the future, yet live rightly in the present as guardians rather than invaders? When the door to the ocean opens, we see not only strange landscapes, but also ourselves, with all our light and darkness. The deep sea tells not only the story of Earth, but also the story of the human heart. Greed and hope, destruction and conservation, indifference and love. And perhaps it is in that profound darkness that we truly see one clear truth. The future of the oceans and the future of humanity are never separate. If we consider the ocean as the planet's green heart, then maritime professions are surely the first pulses echoing from that heart, carrying humanity beyond geographical boundaries to expand the frontier of understanding. Since the dawn of history, the sea has been not only a challenge, but also a silent teacher, compelling us to learn how to read the language of waves, wind, and stars. On fragile boats, humans first felt deeply that their survival depended on the natural rhythms of the ocean. The ancient Polynesians are a perfect example of this relationship. Without maps or compasses, they navigated by sensing the lift of waves beneath their hulls, observing the flight paths of birds, and memorizing the positions of constellations in the night sky. Their journeys spanned thousands of kilometers across vast seas, yet they retained a sense of closeness, a closeness achieved only when humans see themselves as part of nature rather than separate from it. These voyages not only opened up distant archipelagos, but also wove stories, legends, and cultural identities that still endure today. Later, as ancient civilizations in the Mediterranean, Indian Ocean, and Scandinavia developed, the sea continued to serve as a connecting route. From the wooden sailing ships of ancient Greece, Roman warships, to the Viking vessels crossing the North Atlantic, all exemplified a common truth. Every step of human progress has been tied to the ability to understand and master the ocean. The sea did not merely transport goods or warriors, it carried ideas, technology, and even cultural seeds. Entering the age of exploration, the ocean became the backdrop for a new era. Through Zheng He's voyages, the Chinese spread techniques and goods throughout Southeast Asia, the Indian Ocean, and Africa. In the West, Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, and other explorers used improved ships to open global maritime routes. While these journeys also brought conflict, colonization, and human tragedy, they undeniably transformed the world from isolated fragments into a more tightly connected system than ever before. In the broadest sense, the ocean was humanity's earliest pathway to globalization. Looking deeper, we see that the ocean forced humans to develop collective intelligence. No one can sail a ship across an ocean alone. Success depends on the coordination of the entire crew, from rowers to lookouts to star navigators. The sea taught us lessons about cooperation, that survival does not rest on individual strength, but on the ability to unite to overcome challenges. This philosophy remains relevant in every community today. The modern century witnessed another transformation. The ocean became the lifeline of global trade. More than 80% of the world's goods are transported by sea, from oil and minerals to food and technology. Every massive cargo ship today is a descendant of the primitive wooden vessels of the past. The ocean continues to serve as a central nerve, connecting the global economy and keeping the wheel of civilization turning ceaselessly. At the same time, the sea has inspired human imagination. Tales of mermaids, the Kraken, or Lost Atlantis reflect both fear and the desire for discovery embedded deep in the human mind. Literature, music, and cinema over centuries have turned to the ocean as a symbol of infinity, life, and the mysteries yet to be unraveled. Beyond the silver-capped waves, we realize the sea is not only a repository of resources, but also a mirror reflecting humanity's collective soul. However, with glory and exploration comes responsibility. The modern world has expanded maritime capability far beyond what was imaginable in the past, from colossal container ships to nuclear submarines, from precise satellite navigation to detailed digital maps. Yet this development has increased pressure on the ocean. Plastic pollution, oil spills, overfishing, and climate change. The sea, once an endless source of inspiration, is now calling for help. The maritime routes that enabled globalization have also become pathways, witnessing fragile ecosystems gradually depleting. The miracle is that, amid all these upheavals, the sea continues to teach patiently. Ocean waves recognize no nationality, choose no side. Anyone who ventures out must obey natural laws, listen, respect, and adapt. Perhaps this is why many sailors, after months away from land, return calmer and more understanding. The ocean can be fierce, yet it is also a generous school, teaching humility before the vastness of the universe. Today, when we look back at history, one thing is clear. The ocean has not only connected continents, but shaped humanity into a global community. From perilous journeys on wooden boats by our ancestors to modern trade networks spanning the planet, the sea has always been a loyal companion. And perhaps the greatest lesson the ocean leaves us is this simple truth. Only by relying on one another can we overcome the waves, both in the literal and figurative sense. The ocean has always been Earth's vast blue cloak, a reservoir of memories spanning billions of years of evolution. Yet it is now becoming a mirror reflecting the scars left by humanity. As the waters quietly warm, Each ripple whispers urgent messages about the future. Global warming not only melts ice at the poles, but also raises sea levels. Coastal villages that were once tranquil now face the risk of being swallowed by waves. Tiny island nations in the Pacific, often just a few meters above sea level, must prepare for a grim reality, becoming lands erased from maps, while their inhabitants become the world's first climate refugees. The impact of climate change does not stop at land encroachment. It also disrupts the fragile stability of marine ecosystems. Coral reefs, long likened to rainforests beneath the sea, are experiencing unprecedented bleaching events. With just a 1 to 2 degree rise in water temperature, corals expel the symbiotic algae that provide most of their energy. The result, once vibrant limestone forests turn into white graveyards, depriving thousands of fish and small creatures of shelter. As corals die, the entire food chain and livelihoods of millions of coastal people wobble along with them. It is not only coral reefs, ocean currents, like the planet's lifeblood, are also changing. They regulate global climate, transport heat from the equator to the poles, and carry oxygen and nutrients to distant seas. But as melting ice dilutes salinity and thermal stratification in the ocean becomes more pronounced, these currents risk slowing down or shifting direction. Scientists warn that if major currents such as the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation weaken, weather across continents could be disrupted. Colder winters in Europe, more intense storms in the tropics, and unpredictable crop cycles. The ocean is no longer just a story of the seas. It has become a matter of survival for all humanity. Yet, amid the darkness of these challenges, the ocean still flickers with glimmers of hope. Modern science is revealing the ocean's astonishing potential for recovery if humanity acts in time. In some areas, marine protected zones have already shown dramatic differences. When humans cease overexploitation, fish and marine species quickly return, with populations recovering within a few years. Researchers have also discovered that protecting at least 30% of the global ocean could not only preserve biodiversity, but also enhance the ocean's natural carbon absorption, helping to combat climate change. Technology also offers new solutions. Remote sensing satellites allow us to monitor temperature changes and sea levels in real time. Autonomous underwater robots collect data from depths inaccessible to humans. Experimental projects are restoring coral reefs by cultivating heat-tolerant individuals or replanting seagrass to increase carbon absorption. In some coastal cities, the idea of floating cities has been proposed not just as a response to rising sea levels, but also as a way to reshape humanity's relationship with the ocean. However, all these technologies will remain mere patches unless we fundamentally change our attitude, from seeing the ocean as an endless resource to viewing it as a living system that needs care and protection. The ocean not only nourishes us with fish, salt, and trade routes, it regulates climate, provides oxygen, preserves evolutionary memories, and inspires art. If the ocean is depleted, we lose not just a resource, we lose a part of our human identity. Perhaps, at this moment, the most important thing is not a groundbreaking invention, but a change in each person's heart. When you stand by the shore and hear the waves, remember that it is not just a familiar sound, it is the heartbeat of the planet. Every piece of trash you avoid throwing into the sea, every time you support sustainably sourced products, every voice you raise for ocean protection policies, all are small ripples contributing to a larger wave of change. The ocean was once the cradle that gave birth to the first life, and today it still whispers reminders. Live slowly, maintain balance, and remember that we do not exist in isolation, but share a common green home. The future of the ocean is the future of ourselves. If we listen and act in time, perhaps the ocean's stories in the coming century will not only be warnings, but also a new epic, where humanity and the sea together recreate a healthy, sustainable, and hopeful planet. The ocean, with its vastness and inherent mystery, is not only a portrait of the past, but also a mirror reflecting the responsibilities of the present. As temperatures rise, prolonged heat waves occur, and violent storms appear more frequently, the sea speaks in a quiet yet powerful voice. Species shift to find suitable habitats, ecosystems are disrupted, coral reefs bleach, and fish and plankton populations decline. Yet, even in moments that seem hopeless, The ocean demonstrates an astonishing capacity for recovery if humans are patient, skillful, and respectful of its rhythm. Marine protected areas are the clearest evidence of this. When humans temporarily withdraw from critical waters, ecosystems are given a chance to recover. The coral reefs of the Great Barrier Reef and the Papahanaumokuakea Marine Reserve in Hawaii show that life beneath the sea not only reemerges but thrives. Fish populations, from groupers to pufferfish, recover and spread into surrounding areas. Seagrass beds, mangroves, and coastal wetlands regenerate, sequestering carbon, protecting shorelines, and serving as nurseries for thousands of marine species. The strength of this recovery lies not only in strict management measures, but also in the direct participation of local communities. In Fiji, villages implementing traditional fishing bans have seen fish stocks double within a few years while maintaining ecological balance. Similar projects in the Philippines and East Africa demonstrate that when communities manage and protect their surrounding waters, benefits extend beyond biology to economics and culture. Traditions are respected, resources are restored, and younger generations learn to honor the sea through hands-on experience. Science and technology also play crucial roles. Coral nurseries cultivate resilient coral fragments before transplanting them back to reefs, increasing their survival in a changing climate. Underwater robots and drones survey reefs and coastal environments, mapping areas, detecting damage, and guiding restoration efforts. Satellite technology monitors illegal fishing, helping prevent overexploitation and protect marine resources. Even initiatives like artificial reefs or floating trash collection devices demonstrate that the combination of human ingenuity and respect for nature can produce miracles. The ocean is not only a habitat but also a great teacher, imparting lessons on patience and the importance of balance. Each recovering species, from green turtles to humpback whales, from groupers to scallops, tells a story of resilience and adaptability. Species once threatened by overfishing or pollution now find opportunities to regenerate, reminding us that human actions, while capable of destruction, also have the power to heal. Yet this revival does not arise from isolated efforts. It requires a global system of action, from policies to individual awareness. Ocean treaties, international conservation conventions, and environmental education programs all shape humanity's attitude toward the sea. When each person understands that their choices, from food consumption to waste management, from energy use to seafood sourcing, impact ocean health, they become powerful allies of marine life. Education is not just about transmitting knowledge, but sowing seeds for a generation that values and acts responsibly. The ocean is also a treasury of innovation. Projects restoring seagrass, mangroves, and coastal wetlands not only regenerate habitats, but also sequester carbon, contributing to greenhouse gas mitigation. Alternatives to plastics, river trash barriers, and ocean floating collection systems show that no matter the scale of the problem, creativity can yield tangible results. Even experimental ideas like encouraging carbon-absorbing plankton growth or increasing seawater alkalinity open doors to long-term solutions. Among all these efforts, the most important remains a cultural and attitudinal shift. When people choose sustainable seafood, when businesses and governments commit to minimizing pollution and harvesting responsibly, when coastal communities revive traditional water protection practices, the ocean is given the opportunity to recover. Each individual is a link in a chain of positive feedback, and when these links connect, the outcome far exceeds isolated efforts. The ocean's resilience is proof that hope is not an abstract concept. It exists in every wave, every regrown coral reef, every juvenile fish returning to mangroves. It exists in humanity's ability to change, learn, and act. The story of the ocean in the 21st century is still being written. Will it be an epic of restoration or a warning of destruction? The answer depends on the choices, actions, and determination we take today. The ocean is not just a landscape, it is life itself. It needs us, yet it also teaches us that vitality, resilience, and the capacity for recovery are forces that exist deep within every wave, every creature, every grain of sand, and every drop of water. If we learn to listen and respond, the ocean will not merely endure, it will flourish, helping us continue the story of a livable planet where humans and the sea work together to preserve the wonder of life. When we look out at the ocean from the sandy shore or from a ship's deck, we often see a vast, tranquil space, yet one brimming with life. However, deep beneath the shimmering surface, the water does not merely move with the tides, it reflects the pulse of the entire planet. Every temperature change, every shift in ocean currents, every violent storm or low oxygen zone is a message sent to us, reminding us that ecological balance is fragile yet immensely important. These signals, if listened to and responded to in time, can serve as catalysts for the ocean's miraculous recovery. The vitality of the sea is not only expressed through fish, coral, or mangrove forests, it also lies in the self regenerative capacity of the ecosystems themselves. A healthy coral reef, for example, is not only a habitat for thousands of species, but also a shield protecting coastlines from erosion, a destination for ecotourism, a source of artistic inspiration, and a witness to intricate biological processes that have been unfolding for thousands of years. When a mangrove forest is restored, it both shields communities from storms and provides breeding grounds for important seafood species, while sequestering carbon and filtering pollutants, contributing to global climate balance. This exemplifies how a healthy marine ecosystem multiplies its own benefits, creating a cycle that supports both marine life and humans. Yet this vitality does not come naturally. It requires time, patience, and well-planned conservation strategies. Projects to restore seagrass beds, replant coral, regenerate mangroves, or expand marine protected areas all demand continuous effort, combining science, local community engagement, and protective policies. Every small success, from a coral reef regrowing to increases in fish or sea turtle populations, is proof of the power of persistent action. It reminds us that although the ocean has the capacity to recover, that opportunity exists only when we provide favorable conditions, reducing pollution, limiting overexploitation, and combating climate change. Technology plays a crucial role in this journey. Underwater sensors, drones, satellites observing from space, and autonomous submarines allow us to monitor currents, ecological rhythms, and species in regions previously nearly inaccessible. High-resolution images of coral reefs, hydrothermal vents, or deep seabeds reveal a biodiversity richness that we could previously only imagine. These data not only help protect sensitive ecosystems, but also provide a foundation for biological research, the discovery of new resources, and the development of biotechnological applications. Enzymes, proteins, and chemical compounds from deep sea organisms may open opportunities for medicine, biomaterials, and industrial technologies previously beyond human imagination. Alongside science, the human element remains central. Ocean education, awareness of sustainable consumer choices, and community conservation campaigns are becoming powerful drivers. When people understand that the seafood they eat, the waste they generate, and the energy they consume directly impact ocean health, they act more responsibly. Areas managed by local communities, from Fiji to the Philippines and East Africa, have demonstrated that when culture, tradition, and conservation intertwine, the results are not only ecological recovery, but also stable economies and societies, providing long-term benefits. However, the challenges remain undeniable. Climate change continues to be the most severe threat. Warming seas, melting ice, rising sea levels, altered currents, stronger storms, and ocean acidification all directly affect shell-forming and skeletal species, from corals to clams, from plankton to top predators. These changes can ripple across the food chain, from the smallest organisms to large marine animals, and even impact global economies and food security. In this context, innovative solutions, from renewable ocean energy, small-scale hydro, and offshore wind to ocean cleanup projects, demonstrate that the future can be shaped by our choices today. Every decision regarding energy, resource exploitation, biodiversity protection, or ocean education directly affects the ocean's capacity to recover. The ocean is not infinite, but it possesses enduring vitality if respected, protected, and given the opportunity to adapt. Imagine a future where coral reefs continue to flourish, mangrove forests expand, and fish and marine populations rebound strongly. Then the ocean will not only provide food and oxygen, but also serve as the foundation for a sustainable economy, a destination for ecotourism, a natural laboratory for science, and an endless source of artistic inspiration. It stands as proof of the potential harmony between humans and nature, showing that hope and responsibility are not merely parallel but mutually reinforcing. Ultimately, the ocean is a mirror reflecting humanity. Every wave, each layer of water, every plankton or humpback whale tells a story of the challenges and opportunities we face. If we listen, act, and respect, that story will be an epic of recovery, adaptation, and cooperation. Conversely, if we ignore warning signals and shirk responsibility, the ocean may reflect decline, loss, and profound damage. Therefore, the future of the ocean is not a distant scenario. It is forming every day through our actions, decisions, and commitments right now. The ocean, in all its vastness and mystery, is not merely water or scenery. It is life, power, balance, and hope. And like any living being, it calls not for miracles, but for respect, opportunity, and wise action. If we respond to this call, the reward will not only be a thriving ocean, but also a planet where humans and nature coexist in harmony, sustainability, and potential. Thus, the ocean is not only its own story, but ours, a story of responsibility, hope, and choices that can shape the future. If we allow the ocean to heal itself, it will reveal to us a latent power that we have long failed to recognize. In every current, in every wave, there is a quiet, persistent, and patient process of recovery, like an ancient rhythm teaching us about perseverance and harmony. When coral reefs begin to regrow, when fish return to once abandoned seas, when lush mangroves reclaim the coastline, we will realize that nature does not need human haste or pressure to exist. It only needs space, time, and opportunity. Each returning organism is not merely the revival of a species. It is proof of the intricate connection among every biological layer, every current, every chemical and physical factor that intertwines to create life. This resilience carries a clear message. If we act wisely, the ocean will not only recover, but it will also become stronger, richer, and more diverse than before. Large fish return to overfished areas, sharks regain their role in balancing the food chain, plankton thrive to sustain higher ecosystems, all forming a self-sustaining cycle, a harmonious symphony between vitality and environment. And when these ecosystems are restored, they support not only marine life, but also humanity. The ocean is a source of food, a natural biological laboratory, a climate-regulating lung, a source of inspiration, and a connector of cultures. By protecting the ocean, we protect our own existence. However, the ocean's resilience is not an invitation to complacency or an excuse to delay action. It is a reminder that we have both the responsibility and the power to alter the course. Every choice, from reducing plastic waste, cutting greenhouse gas emissions, establishing marine protected areas, to applying biotechnology sustainably, contributes to this revival. Seemingly small actions, a beach cleanup, a community education program, a coral restoration project, resonate together, creating a strong current toward a healthy ocean. In the future, when the younger generation steps onto the shore, they will see more than just salt water and sand. They will see the story of recovery, of hope, of the relationship humans can build with nature. They will marvel at the richness of the coral, the bustling life of the fish, the majesty of whales, and know that all of this can exist if we respect and protect it. The ocean will whisper to them that it is ready to heal, but it will also remind them that this opportunity exists only if we accompany it. If we regard the ocean not as a resource to exploit endlessly, but as a companion, an inseparable part of life and humanity's future. In the endless rhythm of the tides, the ocean still waits for our choice to act responsibly, to respect, to cooperate. And if we succeed, the reward will not only be a revived ocean, it will be a world where humans and nature flourish together, where hope, vitality, and wisdom combine to create a sustainable future full of beauty and wonder.